Bezrat Hashem, in 2 days from now we're going to be celebrating BaOmer, which is a very special day, and celebrating and commemorating the life and the passing of a very special individual, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which he left us an unbelievable present, and that's the teachings of Kabbalah. He opened up a whole new world, starting from the book of the Zohar, into the world of Kabbalah. I mean, a lot of people, they separate the two concepts between Kabbalah and Zohar, which the real Kabbalah is the Zohar. And I mean, Kabbalah, there's many different branches of Kabbalah. There's the Kabbalah of the Ramak, the Kabbalah of the Ari, there's Kabbalah that's way before that. But in general, the topic, the mysticism, is called Kabbalah. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the one who, so to say, opened it up for us. And he left us this unbelievable present. And it arouses a big question. Now in our generation it becomes very popular. People want to learn Kabbalah, people want to learn Zohar. We're getting a little bit closer to the time of Mashiach, so people find a lot of interest in it. A few hundred years ago, whoever dared to talk about that would be outcast. Less than 300 years ago, when the Baal Shem Tov came, everybody went against him. After that, his processor, the Magid from Mazrij, then the next generation of the Baal HaTanya, the Rabbi Nachman from Breslev, the Hasidic movement started. They ran into opposition. Everybody was like, how dare you even talk about things like that? And up until today, there are people that say, no, who allowed you to learn Zohar? Who allowed you to learn Kabbalah? I mean, this is not something that has to do with us. Why are you even doing that? And up until today, there are people that says, no, there's no origin, there's no source, and the Zohar is nonsense. You can't even listen to that. Up until today. And not only that, even when people do believe in the Zohar and Kabbalah, then a lot of people say, why bother? I have a free moment. Why should I learn about Sfirot, about worlds, Partsufim? Who cares? Give me something practical. Give me a course how to bake, how to do business, or whatever, CPR. Give me something practical. Why now? This is what you learn. You learn about all sorts of things that has nothing to do with me. Why most people, not you, you're here in Tzfat, you want to learn about the Sfirot. Most people, you're going to come and tell them, let's learn about something mystical, to tell you, it has nothing to do with me, who cares? To give me something practical. Teach me something that I can do money with. Teach me something, how I can build relationships. Why are you teaching me about something that has nothing to do with me? That's the majority of people. For us, might look foreign here in Tzfat, because everybody wants to learn about the mysticism, but we're a fraction of the entire world. Most people, they're not interested in that. So the question comes, first of all, why should we learn Kabbalah? What's so special about it? There is a group of people that they're pulled towards the mysticism. They like it. But should I learn Kabbalah? Should I learn mysticism? Should I go and invest my time? Well, what's the benefit on that? And that's one thing that I want to talk about today. Why is the present that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave us is so great? It's so great that nobody got a holiday but him. Really, when you're thinking of it, all the holidays that we celebrate are holidays from the Torah. Pesach, Sukkot. The only two additions that we got was Purim and Chanukah. This was an addition from the Sanhedrin. The sages added such a holiday from such a great miracle, which in itself, we addressed that in Purim and Chanukah. There are so many other miracles in the past. Why don't we celebrate them? Why don't we have a holiday for when the man came down from Shamayim? Why don't we celebrate when, Yeshua conquered Israel? That was a huge miracle. The sun got stuck in the sky for a couple hours. Why don't we make a miracle out of that? So there's another great question which we're not going to address today. We talked about it in Chanukah and Purim. Why specifically Chanukah and Purim was decided to be a holiday? But other than that, we don't celebrate any holidays. How come we're celebrating BaOmer? BaOmer is, so to say, an invented holiday. Everybody celebrates Lag BaOmer. There's not one person in the world that doesn't know what's Lag BaOmer. And this is another big question. Why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? I mean, I know he's great, but you know how many other great people are there that changed the face of Judaism and nobody knows anything about them? You know, there's a certain sage, his name was Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. You know what's Rabban? Rabban is the rabbi of all rabbis. We call Moshe Rabbeinu. We call Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. To Yochanan ben Zakkai, we call Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. The rabbi of all the rabbis. Without Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, we would not have the oral Torah. One can argue and say he's greater than even Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Does anybody know what's the death day of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai? Nobody knows. Nobody knows even where he's buried. I mean, we know where he's buried. You ask any average person where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is buried, Meron. You ask somebody about Rabbi Akiva, does anybody know? Rabbi Akiva is the Rebbe of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Does everybody know when his Yahrzeit is? Very few people know when Rabbi Akiva's Yahrzeit is. It's Yom Kippur. He died on Tet B'Tishrei.
I didn't know Hillel was buried in Rome.
Yeah. So there are such huge sages, even, you know, close to us, the Arizal. Okay, we know where he's buried. You know, I mean, few people know his Yahrzeit. It's Hei B'Av. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Yeah. Yeah. So, not more than that, you know, Moshe Rabbeinu. Is there a holiday on Zayin B'Adar? Does anybody celebrate that? Is there anything going on? Some people do. I mean, listen, we know, I mean, people know where big sages are buried and their day of the Hilulah. A few days, yesterday was the Hilulah of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. How many people know that? They know Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, who was a very good friend of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The point is that why does Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is so famous and so great? You know that Meron is the second most busiest tourist location in the world after the Kotel.
After the what?
After the Kotel, the Wailing Wall. The Wailing Wall, the Kotel HaMaravi, is the number one tourist attraction in Israel. And Meron is the number two tourist attraction in Israel.
Only during Lag BaOmer or all year
The
long?
entire year around. Not Metzada. Excuse me? Yeah. and it's growing. But you would think maybe, I don't know, Metzada, maybe, I don't know what. Meron is the second most busiest tourist location in Israel all year round. So it brings...
What's the population of Meron?
Meron is a very small village. There's no many...
Like 3,000 or...
That I don't know.
Not even 5,000?
No, because around Meron there's a few villages. In the actual village of Meron, I don't even think there's 3,000 people there. It's a very small village. But around it, there's all these little yeshuvim. There's the Organuz and there's another yeshuv there, but it's a very small place. I don't even think there's 3,000 people there.
Do you know where the 24,000 students are buried?
No, nobody knows where they are. I mean, some of them we do, but we don't know where the 24 students are. Now, besides, they said that because they died in a plague, maybe they buried all of them together. All died. One opinion says they all died in 3 days. Can you imagine half a city dying in 3 days? You have to...
So there must be somewhere around here in Australia.
Could be. We don't know.
Just haven't found it.
Could be. We just don't know. No, it doesn't necessarily be around here because the yeshiva was in Yavne. It's far away from here.
Oh.
The yeshiva wasn't here. The yeshiva of Rabbi Akiva, where all the students were, there was in Yavne. Yavne was a very big city of Torah. It was close to Bnei Brak, and that's where it was. But again, 24,000 people, you're talking about a city. There's a good chance it was scattered. Maybe I don't think they were all in the same place. But regardless, let's continue with our topic, is that why is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai getting such highlight? I mean, we just mentioned there are great sages other than him. I mean, I'm not Chas v'Shalom saying he's not great, but there are other great people. Why? He gets all the honor, he gets all the attraction, he gets all the kavod, all the respect. There's a holiday on his name. You know, there's one sage, I'm not 100%, I think it was maybe the Khatam Sofer, or I don't remember exactly. Don't take my word on that. He was very against Lag BaOmer. He didn't like Lag BaOmer, and he lived abroad. And one of the reasons that he refused to come and live in Israel was because Lag BaOmer. I think it was the Khatam Sofer, I'm not too sure. It was in the last couple hundred years. And maybe not. I don't want to say Chas v'Shalom Lashon Hara about the Khatam Sofer. But there was one of the great Achronim that didn't like BaOmer. It's like, no, it's not a good thing. Why is he having a holiday? This is not something normal. This has nothing to do with us. It's not our holiday. It's not a holiday. But the reality is that everybody knows what Lag BaOmer. Take the most secular person in the world. When I grew up, I didn't celebrate any other holidays. I celebrated Lag BaOmer. Because, you make bonfires, and you stay up all night, and you shoot bow and arrows. I remember when I was 4 years old, we would shoot bow. That was the funnest holiday. We would shoot bow and arrows. You're making a face of why bow and arrow, because when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive, the entire time that he was alive, lo nirata keshet b'shamayim. There wasn't a rainbow in the heaven, in the sky, the entire time he was alive. Now we know that when Noah came out of the ark, then Hashem gave him a promise, and he says, I will never destroy the world again. And every time that I'm going to be upset, I'm going to put a beautiful rainbow in the sky. So every time you see a rainbow, everybody marvels the beautiful colors. One should say, Hashem is pretty upset right now that we're seeing a rainbow. So, because it means Hashem wants to destroy the world. But Hashem had a deal with Noah and says, I'm not going to destroy the world. I'm just going to put a beautiful rainbow in the sky. It's like when people work on their anger management, they're like, they breathe in, breathe out. So Hashem breathes in, breathes out. He paints a beautiful rainbow and says, relax, they're only human. I know they're annoying, but I'm not going to destroy them. So, while Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive, the entire time of his life, they never saw a rainbow, because his merit was so powerful that in the zchut of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the entire world sustained. So since we didn't see any the rainbow throughout his life, then one of the ways of commemorating, everybody's shooting the bows and arrows. So there are many other reasons for that, but I used to celebrate Lag BaOmer as a secular Israeli. It was a big holiday. We loved Lag BaOmer. We would prepare for Lag BaOmer 2 months in advance, collecting all the wood. That's, there was the activity from Pesach.
Arrows, right?
Excuse me?
It wasn't flaming arrows.
No.
Oh. That's better.
Our activity as little kids before Lag BaOmer was to prepare wood for the bonfires. We would walk around in groups and collect wood and steal wood from construction sites and hide it, and then the other group of boys would steal our wood and started a whole war, and this was a whole activity. The other day I saw a bunch of kids, they looked like maybe 8, 9 years old, walking with a cart full of wood, and I was like, I remember the missions, we called it missions, going and getting wood. And so Lag BaOmer is a very special holiday that everybody celebrates. In Israel, the kids don't go to school even on Lag BaOmer. They made it literally a holiday. The kids don't go to school the next day on Lag BaOmer. So, sorry. Now there's a question. What's the concept of going up to Meron on Lag BaOmer? It's a pretty new concept, by the way. That the first time that we saw a source to it was about 500 years ago by Rabbi Ovadia Mibartenura. He's one of the greatest commentaries on the Mishnah. He explains the Mishnah. And in the year 1429, he wrote a certain letter talking about going up to Meron or Lag BaOmer. That's one of the first sources we have about the concept about going to Meron on Lag BaOmer, because a lot of people are asking, why should I go there? What's so special? The mystical explanation is, and I don't want to get into it too much because we want to focus on our concept, the mystical explanation why one should make an effort to go on Lag BaOmer to Meron, on any passing day of a tzaddik to the grave, is because the nefesh of the tzaddik dwells around the grave all year round. If you go now to Uman, to Rabbi Nachman, you go to wherever you want to go to, you go to all the Kivrei Tzaddikim here, or to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Tzion in Brooklyn, the nefesh of the tzaddik is next to the grave. It doesn't move from there. That's why it's called Tzion. It doesn't call a grave. Tzion is a mark, because the nefesh of the tzaddik is there. It doesn't leave. On Rosh Chodesh and other auspicious times like festivals, the ruach and the neshama of the tzaddik is in the grave, which means that when you come close to the grave, you have some type of a spiritual connection with a higher level of the neshama. But on the day of the passing, what's called the Hilulah, all 5 levels of the neshama are there. The chaya, the yechidah, the neshama, the ruach and the nefesh, all 5 levels of the neshama of the tzaddik is in the tzion. So when you go to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, to Meron on Lag BaOmer, you have the ability to connect to all 5 levels of the neshama of the tzaddik. This only happens on one day, that you have that connection. So that's more of a mystical reason.
Where
But
are the other 4 levels during the rest of the year?
in their place, in Gan Eden, in heaven, they don't come down. I mean, the tzaddik can go up and down as much as he wants. But the highest part of the neshama is called the yechidah. That comes down to the world only on the day of the passing. So on the day of the passing, on any tzaddik, you go to that tzaddik's tzion, the grave, and you have the opportunity to connect with the yechidah of that tzaddik, just by being there.
How close do you have to be to the grave?
You don't have to stand, you don't have to hug the grave. It's enough to be around it. A tzaddik like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, I always say, and don't take me as a source, but I'm pretty much sure that the ripple effect reaches Tzfat. You don't have to kill yourself and go to Meron. I mean, again, don't take my, this is just my opinion. I'm saying that the power of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, I'm pretty much sure that the ring of effect of his neshama reaches Tzfat.
Thank you so much. Something very interested me. Who was the greatest neshama in the world? Inshallah. And God didn't want or allowed us to go to his grave. Because he said, the Mefarshim said,
Gonna make an idol worship out of it.
Make it for him avodah zarah, yeah? So we are not allowed. The time that people go to Meron, I feel something against it.
So I'm gonna-
I don't feel good.
I'm going to tell you the
Because
answer.
We have to be all the time connect with the Shem. So I don't know.
I'm going to tell you the answer to that. Why do we go to Meron, specifically to Meron on Lag BaOmer? Because there is some people, like I told you, I think it's a Khatam Sofer, don't take my word. He was very against it. He didn't like the whole thing. One of the first ones that gave us the what's the word? Not the permission, but was talking about going to Meron was Rabbi Ovadia from Bartenura. The next one that gave a stamp about the importance of going to Meron on Lag BaOmer is the Arizal. He used to make it his business to go there. The Arizal was very into going into Meron. But the Lubavitcher Rabbi gave a very interesting explanation why Lag BaOmer and Meron is so special. Because really, what do we do on the Omer? We count the Omer. And what do we say every day? Hayom kach vekach laOmer. Hayom 2 yamim laOmer. Today is 2 days to the Omer. Hayom 27 yamim laOmer. Now some people have the custom of saying laOmer. Some say BaOmer. The Ashkenazim say BaOmer when they count. And the Sfaradis and other different types of groups, they say laOmer. Doesn't matter. But if you take the words Lag BaOmer, Lag is 33, Lamed Gimel. But when you take the words Lag BaOmer, brings you to a very interesting gematria of 345. Another special word that brings you to this gematria of 345 is Moshe. And Moshe Rabbeinu, Rashbi is Moshe. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is Moshe Rabbeinu, is the Raya Mehemna. So, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says on himself in different occasions that he is Moshe Rabbeinu.
He's the reincarnate.
He is Moshe Rabbeinu. Since we don't know the place of burial of Moshe Rabbeinu, we know that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, why to go to the grave? We're not going to get into that. Don't want to move off from our topic. We can talk about it another time or later. But one of the reasons why Rashbi gets such attention, such kavod, such a holiday and all that, is because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim and he got the Torah. Bechlal, we know the story, and again, I see we're having too many of these distractions and we're not sticking to the topic, which, although it's all important, there is a question: what is the Zohar? And why is it so special, and what's so important to learn it? The story explains that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, then the angels, Malachei HaSharet, they had a prosecution against us. Why are we getting the Torah? That was the prosecution in Shamayim. Malachei HaSharet, the high angels, they came to the Kadosh Baruch Hu with a lawsuit, and they said, why are the human beings getting the Torah? We should get the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu was subpoenaed to the heavenly court, and God told Moshe Rabbeinu, you just got the Torah, you represent the humans, you answer. And Moshe Rabbeinu was, of course, very afraid. He's like, what do you mean you answer? I'm just going to stand next to these angels, I'm going to be burnt. So Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, don't worry, put your hand on my chair, you'll be safe, I give them an answer. So Moshe Rabbeinu was a very smart man, and he told the angels, okay, you have a prosecution, a lawsuit against us, why are we getting the Torah? Let's look in the Torah, let's see what it says. Now, the abbreviation or the headlines of the Torah are the 10 Commandments. Let's start going one by one. So, one of the first commandments is Anochi Avai Elokecha. I am Hashem, your God, and you should not have any God other but me. So he says to the angels, you have a problem with idol worship. You see God in front of your eyes. There's not even a concept of idol worship. For humans, there is the concept of idol worship because we don't see God. And anyways, the story is long, but he started going one after the other. So he came to the fourth commandment. You should observe Shabbat. He says to the angels, you observe Shabbat. It's for us to observe Shabbat. Let's go to commandment number 5. Honor your father and mother. You told the angels, you have a father and mother? You don't have parents. We have parents. We have to observe this commandment. Let's go to commandment number 6. You should not kill. Can you kill? Can you kill an angel? There's no death. You don't have death. You don't have murder. It has to do with us.
There's the angel of death then.
But he kills. He doesn't get killed. And anyways, he went.
It doesn't say don't get killed.
Anyways, he went one commandment after the other, and he proved to the angels that the Torah is for us. You should not steal, you should not commit adultery. He says, this has nothing to do with you, it has to do with us. So the angels were also not so stupid, and they're like, wait a minute. That's not what we read in the Torah. Show us what you're reading. So Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid for them to really see what it says, so he took all the letters and he went like that. And then they came into the Torah and they're like, wait a minute, you're right. This is what it says. We saw something completely different when we first looked into it. So the original Torah is not what we're reading. What we're reading now, all the stories and what we're reading from the 5 books of Moses, which I mentioned already before, that there are sources that are telling to us that we're missing 2 books. What we're reading now, that's the scribble of Moshe Rabbeinu. He took the letters and he rewrote everything. And when the angels looked inside, they didn't recognize, and they read the actual Torah that we're reading. But the real Torah, before it was scribbled, that's the Zohar.
Scrambled.
That's before it was scrambled. That is the Zohar. Now, when we have the custom in the synagogue to lift up the Torah, it's called Hagba'at Torah. Some people do it before we read the Torah. Some people will do it after we read the Torah. In the Ashkenaz type of books, when you roll it open, then you roll it and you open it. The Sephardi books, you pick up the entire thing. But every shul does it, the Hagba'at Torah. The simple explanation is because everybody has to see the Torah. So it's a big synagogue. People are in the back. They don't see the Torah. So that way everybody looks in the Torah. But if you notice, you turn around the Torah. The explanation is that you have to look in the Torah. And Kabbalah teaches us that when they lift up the Torah, you should look for the letters of your name in the Torah. So when they lift up the Torah, your name is Rachel, look for Reish, Chet, and Lamed. And it's not going to be in the same word, but look for the actual words. That's why in Agbat Torah you see people go in and look at it. I don't know how easy it is for you from upstairs or from the side to see, but that's what we need to do. But really, what the mystical reason why we turn around the Torah, because the front of the Torah is what Moshe Rabbeinu scribbled. The back of the Torah, what we don't see, that's the original way how the letters were compiled, and that is the Zohar. The Zohar is the original way how the Torah was given to us. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who knew how to move it around. So when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai came, he went up to Shamayim and brought it down again without the letters scribbled. That's where we got the Zohar. That's the original way, that's the mystical part, the sod, the secrets behind the Torah. The mystical part, what is called, there are 4 levels in the Torah which is called Pardes. Pardes is an orchard, and the acronym is Pshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod. It's the 4 levels how to interpret the Torah. So the sod, the secret, that is the Zohar. That's where it originates from. That's why the Zohar is so special, and that's why we know that Moshe Rabbeinu himself went up to Shamayim, to the heavens, to bring the first Torah. Then he had to go up again as Rabbi Shimon and bring the Torah again as it was originally written, which is the Zohar. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is a very special individual. I want to actually continue with what our topic later on. We'll do the questions, and we have another class that we can maybe talk about more of the mystical parts of why we're going to the grave. But my question was completely different question. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai brought us a present, and it's called Kabbalah. Should I learn it? Should I go into it? Does it really matter? Do I really need to know about the Sfirot? Do I really need to know about the spiritual worlds? Do I really need to know the structure of everything? Why do I do that? So we understand that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a very special individual. But that explains why there's a holiday, why it explains all sorts of different things. We'll talk about it more later. But mainly I want to know about the teachings of Kabbalah. Now there is a pasuk in Tehillim, a verse in Tehillim that it says, Alita lamarom veshavita shevi. This is in chapter 58 of Tehillim. And it says, you went up to the heavens, Alita lamarom veshavita shevi. And you captured, I don't know how you would say shevi, you captured something, you took something. Which means that you went up to the heavens and you grabbed a treasure. This is referring to the 3 individuals that brought down to the world the mysticism. And it's in the word shevi. These 3 individuals are called the 3 meorot, the 3 illuminators that brought down mysticism into the world. Shevi, the shin, is for Shimon Bar Yochai, Shimon the son of Yochai. And the second one is Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shlomo, which is the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria. And the third one is Rabbi Yisrael ben Shem Tov, Baal Shem Tov. So this is the Shevi, the Shin, the Bet, and the Yud. These are the 3 individuals that went up to the heavens. Alita lamarom, marom is above, it's not even to the heavens, it's above, marom is above. Veshavita Shev, and you brought down something into the world. So first came Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he brought down the Zohar. Next came the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, who brought down the teachings of Kabbalah. And the third one was Rabbi Yisrael Shem Tov, Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, they brought the Torah, the teachings of Chassidut. So three individuals went up to the heavens to bring down the mysticism of the Torah. So it all boils down again to the great question, should I learn Kabbalah? Now Kabbalah is a very general term. In Kabbalah, Zohar is part of the Kabbalah. I mean, you can call it Zohar, you can call it Kabbalah. Chassidut is also a type of Kabbalah. Chassidut is literally the translation of Kabbalah. Really, and I've been saying that for so many times, people say they learn Zohar. We don't learn Zohar because you don't understand one word out of it. Even when we do learn here, Well, you know what we do? We translate the words and we try to understand something. That's not really learning Zohar. I can guarantee to you that there are very few people in our generation that know what the Zohar is. It's so deep, so sophisticated, so high, that even what we learn is literally on the surface. We can't even touch nothing, because I mentioned that in the last class, and we're doing Sfirat BaOmer. And we're talking about today is Netzach Shebehod. Besides saying a fancy word, nobody knows what it means to do a tikkun for the Sfira of Netzach Shebehod. Can you explain what it is? No. I can give you some fancy explanation out of a book. Nobody really knows. I can tell you what an apple is. Oh, an apple is a fruit that was grown on a tree. Some of them are yellow, some of them are green. I can relate with it. Can you explain to me what's Netzach? It's a name. It's a Sfira. Okay, big deal, a Sfira. What's a Sfira? Nobody really knows. So not that I'm trying to take the air out of our sails, but really the Zohar and the Kabbalah, we're really not learning that. Because the real Kabbalah, we're not going to be able to even relate with. So, in the yeshiva where I learned, the head of the yeshiva, who was my rabbi for many, many years, he's an individual close to his 80s. He's something unbelievable, literally a genius. You would just tell him a verse in the Talmud, he will tell you in which tractate, which page, which line from the bottom it is, and all the interpretations, what they say about it. That's what a genius he was. The Lubavitcher Rebbe used to refer to certain individual with a title. Harav HaChashuv, the important rabbi, Harav HaGadol, the great rabbi. That's how he would refer to certain individuals. Not only the Lubavitcher Rebbe, but this is the story that the Lubavitcher Rebbe used to call two rabbis Harav HaGaon, the genius rabbi. And that is my rabbi in the yeshiva, that was one of them, Rabbi Goldberg. He used to refer to him, excuse me? Rabbi Goldberg. Yaakov Koppel Goldberg. The Lubavitcher Rebbe used to call him Harav HaGaon. And one time the Lubavitcher Rebbe told about him that he's a Talmid Chacham. And he says, we don't have Talmidei Chachamim in our generation. He's a very special man. Very humble, unbelievable. And when we would ask him questions in Chassidut and in Zohar, he would say, I don't know Kabbalah, I don't know anything. And if somebody that can give you some answers is him, and he always said, I don't know anything. Maybe I know to read the books, but I don't know anything. That's really, we love saying that we learn Zohar and Kabbalah, but really we're not in the level like the Ari to understand it. But we still need to learn it. And then came the Chassidut, and the Chassidut is the translation of the Zohar and the Kabbalah that comes to dissect it into pieces to explain to us. That's why you see that the Chassidic discourses, it's one verse. You have a 20-page Chassidic discourse on one verse that dissects it. So the question is again, should we learn Kabbalah? And again, Kabbalah is a title that I will include in it, the Zohar, Kabbalah teaching. There are different types of Kabbalah, Chassidut. So the story says that less than 500 years ago, this specific place here in Tzfat was the center of the Torah of the world. Now it was a very harsh time. It was right after the Spanish Inquisition. It was a very big earthquake, spiritual earthquake to Jews. They had to run away from their place. But Tzfat somehow became the place that collected everybody. Now, we don't even imagine how lucky we are where we are. But less than 500 years ago, just try to imagine in this little hill who lived here. The great sage of that generation was Maran Yosef Karo, the Bet Yosef, who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. Now, even though he wrote the Shulchan Aruch and he represents the oral Torah, he was a very big Mekubal. He had an attached angel to him. He had a Magid. A Magid is an angel that comes to teach him everything. They taught him everything. Imagine you have an angel that walks around with you and starts teaching you everything. We all do. We just don't see them. Next to him was another giant who we know as the acronym as the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, who was a great, great Kabbalist. He's a little bit different than the Kabbalah of the Arizal. And needless to say, there are many other giants here. Rabbi Chaim Vital, who was the student of the Arizal, Rabbi Shlomo Olkabetz, the Al-Sheikh, the Abu Hav. We had here dozens of these giants. And then comes this young individual, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, who is known as the Arizal. He was very young, he was 34 years old. And all these individuals are in their 80s and their 90s, these giants. And he comes, and then the Ramak was the leader in the Kabbalah of the time. And before he passed away, they asked him, who's going to be your processor? Who's going to take over? So he says, I can't tell you who's going to take over, but in my funeral, when you bury me, the one that sees the pillar of fire, he's going to be the one that will take over. Then he passed away, and he's buried right here next to the Arizal. It's the grave in front of the Arizal. And they were wondering, who's going to see the fire? And again, you have to understand who came to the funeral. Individuals like Rabbi Chaim Vital, who wrote most of the books of Kabbalah, is written by Rabbi Chaim Vital, not the Arizal. Arizal just wrote notes. So these are the type of individuals that came to the Levaya, to the funeral. And who sees the pillar of fire? The Arizal. The Arizal says, hey, I see it. I see the Merkava. I see the chariot. This little boy, 34 years old. And that's how they knew he's going to take over. So the Ramak explains that the one who would see the chariot of fire, he's going to be the one who's going to continue his way in Kabbalah. Now, going back again to the question, should I or can I learn Kabbalah? Then the answer is 100% a yes. It's not a choice, it's an obligation. We have to learn Kabbalah. And the reason is because there is a commandment in the Torah that says, Da et Hashem Elokecha. Know your God. Don't believe you. Know. You have to know God. And in order to know what's this great thing, I have to learn about Him. I have to learn Kabbalah. Kabbalah teaches me how to connect to Hashem. It teaches me about Hashem. And if I don't know about Hashem, how will I connect with Him? So I have to learn Kabbalah. It is a must to learn, because if I want to serve Hashem, I need to know Him. I need to know what He wants. I need to know how He operates. I need to understand and to relate to His midot, to His attributes. I can't just serve Hashem black and white. Serving Hashem black and white because it says, don't do this, and like a robot, that's not serving Hashem. I need to understand it from the depth of it. And, I heard a funny joke that there was a teacher that told all the kids, she was teaching them about Hashem, and she said, can everybody draw a picture of how they think Hashem looks? So one kid drew like a big tree, another person drew like a big man, and one girl drew a scale that you stand on. So the teacher's like, why did you draw a scale? That's how you think Hashem looks? So she says, yes, that's how Hashem looks. She was like, why are you drawing a scale? So she was like, because every time my mom steps on the scale, she says, oh my God! So we don't know how God looks even. Not that He has a form or a shape. But you want to serve the Master, you need to know about Him. You need to get some type of an idea. What is God? And the only way to know that is to know Him, not to believe in Him. To believe is very good. You have to believe. Believing, what's called emunah, is one of the components of our neshama, but that's not our service to God. We have to know Hashem. Da et Hashem Elokecha. You have to know Hashem. There's a story with Balatanya, the old Rabbi, that he wanted to get closer to Hashem. So he went to learn by the Magid from Mazrij. And when he came back, they asked him, "No, now you're smarter?" So he says, "I'm not smarter, I didn't learn much, but now I know there's a God." I tell him, now you know there's a God? Well, you didn't know before there's a God? Besides, what are you talking about? Every human being knows there's a God. So the person wanted to prove that every human being knows there's a God, so he calls the cleaning lady. And he tells her, do you know there's a God? She says, of course I know there's a God. So he says to him, yeah, she knows, she believes there's a God, but I actually know there is a God. So there's a very big difference between believing that there's a God and actually knowing. And there's a very big difference that I believe that there's something, I believe in it, but actually knowing, it's a whole different story. And we are required to know that there is a God, and not only that, we have to know Him in order to serve Him. There's a very famous story in the Gemara, in Tractate Chagiga, that it's talking about two individuals that were walking together. One of them was, I mentioned before his name, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was literally one of the pillars of the oral Torah, and one of his students, Elazar ben Arach. And they were walking together, and these type of individuals are not talking about the football game from last night, they're talking about deep concepts in Torah. And this is the only place in the Gemara that it's talking about what's called Maaseh Bereshit. Spiritual, deep concept of Kabbalah that is called Maaseh Bereshit, the action of creation. And at some point, Rabbi Elazar ben Arach tells his Rabbi, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, can you teach me a little bit of some mysticism, something, give me something with juice? So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, no, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about these things. So at the time, Rabbi Elazar told him, listen, I want to tell you something. I learned chidush. I heard something. I want to tell you about it. Now the way it worked in that day, that the Rabbi, who was Rabbi Yochanan, he was riding on the donkey, and his student, which was Rabbi Elazar, was leading the donkey. So he tells him, Rabbi, I really want to tell you something that I learned. It's about Maaseh Bereshit, about the act of creation. So Rabbi Yochanan wanted to give him some respect. The story says that he got off his donkey, he took off his garment, he put on a very special garment, and he sat down. He says, okay, now say that. And he says, I talk to you all day long about things in the Torah. You never change your garment. You never get off your donkey. You never sit down. He says, yes, but now you're talking to me about Maaseh Bereshit. This is not a regular Torah. You're not talking to me about a halacha or a story or a midrash. You're talking to me about the creation of the universe. He had to put on a special garment. He had to sit down. He had to be off his donkey. And the Gemara there is talking about that when you already come to talk about something so special, you don't talk about it in a regular way, and you take it in a completely different way. So we learn from that and from many other stories that how important and special the mystical part is, but we have to learn it. Now really what Kabbalah is about, if you want to summarize it in two words, or mainly not in two words, but in two topics, the first thing that Kabbalah is about what's called tzerufei otiyot, the connections of the letters. Kabbalah is all about letters. When you come to start learning Kabbalah, first you have to learn about the letters, the Hebrew letters, and the numerical value of the letters, and what are the letters, because really Hashem created the world with these letters. And what does it mean that He created the world with letters? The easiest way to explain it is that Hashem is a programmer. Take now a beautiful website, and you look at the screen, and you see a beautiful design, you see colors, you see pictures, you see all these beautiful motions, a video, pictures, you click a button, the whole website is alive. But what would you see if hypothetically you would remove the screen? You would see the code that creates the website. This is called the programming, the code. Now if you're a programmer, you understand the code. If you're not a programmer, it just looks like gibberish, like a bunch of letters that don't make sense even. Now if you are a programmer, you would read the lines that don't make sense. This number equals that, and all sorts of symbols. But the programmer will be able to read and says, oh, this line will create the button down here. And this line will make this picture. And this line will create this function. The same idea, that's how God creates the world. God creates the world with 10 speeches. When God, Hashem is a programmer. He takes all these letters and puts them together like a code. And ta-da! Beautiful world. So the basic teachings, the foundation of the teachings of the Kabbalah is called Tzerufei Otiyot, the combination of all the letters. Because Hashem creates everything with His letters. These are the tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses in order to create the world. He takes 22 sophisticated tools, that each tool is way more sophisticated than we think. It's not just a simple letter. And He puts them together in Tzerufei Otiyot, combinations. He puts one combination together and He creates a certain power. These are the 72 names of Hashem. It's combinations of letters. This is the Ayin Bet Shemot. So this is the main of the two things that Kabbalah teaches us, is Tzerufei Otiyot. The next thing that Kabbalah teaches us is a concept that is called Sfirot. Is the 10 Sfirot. That's what it's all about. Tzerufei Otiyot and Sfirot. This is it. What will take you 500 years to learn, these are the titles. Just remember, Tzerufei Otiyot and Sfirot. This is what the teachings of Kabbalah comes to teach us. Now really what it comes to teach us is to make us familiar with Hashem. Now comes a very big question, and everybody asks that. Do we really are an interest in Hashem's eye? Hashem really cares what we do? Such a huge system in the universe. Thousands and thousands and thousands of infinite amount of worlds. Billions and trillions of angels and creatures. And does Hashem really care about me? Does Hashem care when I say a blessing? That's a question that many people have. Does Hashem care that I do a mitzvah? I did the mitzvah, I didn't do a mitzvah. What does it matter to Him? Does it affect Him? If it's affecting Him, it's taking Him down. It's taking Him down from His level. That He's going to be affected by my action. If I put tefillin on or I don't put tefillin on, will it affect Hashem? If it doesn't, then why do I need to do it? If it does, then it's making Him less greater than what He is, because it's affecting Him. I'm able to affect the Master of the universe. So there's a big question here, is with our actions are we creating a change in Hashem, what's called lif'ol shinui. And this will branch out into so many different other questions, which leads to another huge question. If Hashem is so good, why did He create bad? We just spoke before, why did Hashem create flies and cockroaches and all these disgusting things, mosquitoes? So if Hashem is so good, why is there death? Why is there diseases? Why is there hardship? So all these questions, they lead to more questions and more questions. Which, where did it all originate from? There's a story in the Gemara about a certain individual, and we call him Acher. Acher is the other one. His name is Elisha ben Abuya, who was unbelievable, a giant in the Torah, and he went totally against the Torah, and he became completely kofir. He went against the Torah, and he never made tshuva. We know that he never made tshuva, and it was a big wonder how he turned around. He was such huge in the Torah that when he would speak, everybody would be silenced to hear him. And one of his students is Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir stayed in touch with him. He still learned from him. There's a story in the Gemara that one Shabbat they were walking together. Acher was riding on a horse. Rabbi Meir was walking with him, and they were talking because Rabbi Meir would ask him questions. And at some point they reached a certain line, and Acher told Rabbi Meir, turn around, you reach to the gvul, the tchum of Shabbat, to the area of Shabbat, you have to turn around, you can't walk anymore. So Rabbi Meir told him also, turn around, you also, turn around, come back. You're such a genius, such a pillar in the Torah, why aren't you coming back? Well, stop with the nonsense, you made the point. And he says, I can't. A heavenly voice already decreed in the heavens that I will never be able to do tshuva. And the story says that he went up to Shamayim, that's how great he was, and he saw a certain angel. This angel is called Metatron. His acronym is Memtetet. You might have seen it a couple times. This angel is the scribe that writes everything. Hashem speaks. You know how in the courthouses there's somebody who's typing? Court recorder. And they don't have letters. There's just 5 or 6 notes, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And the whole court, This angel, that's the court recorder. Everything that happens in Shamayim, this angel writes down. He's a very powerful angel, by the way. Ken, he's in charge of all the angels, a very high level angel. You would find many times the acronym Mem Tet Tet, Metatron. And Acher went up to Shamayim and saw him. And he understood from that there are two domains. There's Hashem and there's him. Because he's writing everything. He understood that there's another, I don't have to say domain, Rashut. I don't know if the right word is to say domain, but he understood there's another power, another Shem, Chas v'Shalom. There's not only one, there's two. And it's made him nuts. And he came down, he says there's two gods, there's not only one God. You know, there is certain beliefs in many different other religions that there are two gods. The God of good and the God of bad. The God of evil, the God of good. The God of light, the God of darkness. And they constantly fight each other. So that was the problem with this Acher, with the sage, that he understood that there are two gods, Chas v'Shalom, and it made him flip out. So,
Is he bad?
no.
So why do you see two gods?
Who's bad, the Acher or the angel?
No, the angel.
The angel is not bad, but he just writes everything. When Acher went up to Shamayim, when Elisha ben Abuya went up to Shamayim, he didn't see God, he saw the angel. And he understood from that there are two gods. He didn't understand that the angel is not God. That's what he saw. He saw an angel typing and writing, so to say. He understood from that that's a second God. Why he understood that I don't know. But that's when he came down and he became crazy and he said there's two gods. The Torah is wrong. So he went against the Torah. Now, the point is, to make a long story short, we had so many sidetracks and so many, we went off the topic. The point is, we want to know if we should learn Kabbalah. We said yes. We mentioned that the two basics, the foundations of the Kabbalah is tzerufei otiyot, the combinations of the letters. And the second one is the sfirot. Now, we're counting the Omer, we're mentioning the sfirot all the time. Constantly we're learning about the sfirot. But we don't really know what it means. Nobody knows what it means. Don't be hard on yourself, because nobody knows what it means. We know fancy words. We know a little bit about it, but we don't understand with our understanding what the sfirot means. The easiest way to explain what it means is the sfirot is the relationship between us and Hashem. That's it. This is the way how we can relate to Hashem. If it's the sphere of Chokhmah, is wisdom, understanding his desires. If it's the attribute of Chesed, it's to understand how kind Hashem is. If it's the attribute of Gvura, it's to understand that Hashem has rules and he knows when to put a limitation. The Sfirot is the way for us to relate with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. To really start dissecting it, that's not so much in our level. But the point is that we have to develop an understanding in Hashem. It's not enough to believe. Believing is good. We have to work on our emunah. But we can't base our relationship of Hashem, with God, based on emunah. We cannot. It has to be understanding. And I heard an unbelievable story not too long ago about a certain individual who was a very, very rich individual, very wealthy, business all over the world. And he heard about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he contacted the Lubavitcher Rebbe, it was probably 30, 40 years ago. And he said, listen, I heard that you are a great rabbi. I heard that you actually much more than a rabbi, that you mamash have Ruach HaKodesh. And I heard that you help people, you solve things, that you see things in a different way. I heard all sorts of things about you. And I want to offer you a partnership. I'm willing to make you a 50% partner in all my business, but I want you to give me your advice. And whatever you tell me to do, I will do. And in return, I'm making you 50% partner in my business, and 50% you can give to your shuls, to your emissaries, to whatever you do. You're talking here about millions of dollars. This is not a partnership, a small partnership. Now, when everybody saw this letter, they thought that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is going to totally ignore him. To everybody's surprise, the Rebbe said, yes, I want to be your partner, but I have one condition. The condition is that anything that I say, you don't ask questions, and you do. This person says, I'm agreeing, let's sign the contract. And he takes the deal, and he says, I agree. So the deal was 50% of the profit goes to the Rebbe, and the deal is that this individual must do, no questions asked, whatever the Rebbe says. Okay. He's all excited. I'm now partners with the tzaddik. The first order that the Rebbe gives him, he tells him, go to this market and buy this specific fabric. He says, what? Buy this fabric? I thought the Rebbe is going to tell me where the diamonds are hidden in the ocean, where there's gold to take out of walls. Okay, deal is a deal. I'm not asking questions. He goes and buys this fabric. The Rebbe sends him a letter and says, no. Buy all the fabric in the market. Don't just buy a little bit. And he's like, wait, we're talking here about a lot of money. Deal is a deal, not asking questions. He goes and buys all that fabric that can be found in the world for millions of dollars, that fabric. Okay, now what? Now we wait. A few weeks pass, something changed in the textile in the world. The fabric became a little bit less desired, and it started losing its value. It went down like 20%. Now this, you're talking about millions of dollars. This is not $1,000. He calls the partner. I don't know if you're aware of what's still the Rebbe. I don't know if you're aware of what's going on, but the value went down 20%. The Rebbe tells him, I'm aware. It's okay. Should we sell it? Maybe at least we'll cut just, the loss is not going to be that great. The Rebbe says, I didn't tell you to sell it. I didn't tell you to do anything. Keep it. Okay? A few weeks pass, it goes down more to 30% lost market value. A few weeks pass, 40%, 50%. He's getting, what's going on? He starts letters all day long. Should we sell? We're losing all the investment. The Rebbe says, did I tell you to do something? I told you it is a deal. And the market completely, the value of it goes down to a point that it was completely worthless. Nobody wanted that fabric anymore. He started freaking out. He already saw how he's losing all his fortune, all the money he worked for. He's already seeing generations forward. My kids, I have to marry them off. I have properties. He's freaking out and he's sending letters constantly. Should we sell? What should we do? And he tells him, why are you bothering me all day long? I told you, a deal is a deal. Whatever I tell you to do, you do. And I didn't tell you to do anything. A few more weeks pass. Suddenly a little change in the market. It went up 10% in the value. Let's sell. The Rabbi says, why you keep bothering me? A few weeks passed, it went up a few more percentage. At some point, it was bumped up a little bit to its value market. And he's sending letters, let's sell it, we'll cut the loss. The Rabbi says, remember our deal? Yes. Whatever I say you do, don't do anything. A few months pass. One of the greatest designers in the world came up with some new design, whether it was Yves Saint Laurent or Christian Dior or whatever it was. And he needed that fabric. Overnight, it jumped like 400% its value. And the only one in the world that had the fabric was the partner. Overnight, they quadrupled the amount of the investment, and needless to say, made a ton of money. The next day comes a big fat check. Takes the check, thank you so much, puts it aside. So the person got very excited, I have the best partner in the world. Comes the next deal, he gets a letter from the Rabbi and says that I'm breaking off the partnership. Breaking off the partnership? Why? Didn't we do good last time? The Rabbi says, yeah, we did good. But I don't want you as a partner. You're a very weak partner. He's like, why? He says, because you came to me believing in my powers, right? You said you're a big tzaddik, you have Ruach HaKodesh, you believed in me. But you drove me nuts for months. So you didn't really believe. You, in the beginning, believed a little bit. but you didn't know that my word, that's what it's worth. And you were worried for months, and you drove me crazy, and letters and phone calls. You maybe had a little bit of belief that, he didn't say on himself, I'm a tzaddik. He said, you had a little bit belief in me, but you didn't know how powerful my decisions will be, because you drove me crazy. If you would know, you would be sitting and drinking margaritas all day long and waiting for the day that the market value will jump. Therefore, I don't want you as a partner. You are a very weak partner. So, the point is that it's not enough to believe. We have to believe. We have to believe in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We have to work on our belief. But the belief comes with our soul. It's a component of our nefesh. It's a piece in the nefesh. We have a problem that we do all sorts of acts that pushes away this component, so we have to pull it out. People have a problem with emunah. People have a problem with believing, so they come a test in their life and they fall. That's because we have a problem with emunah. The way to get the emunah, the belief out, you do all sorts of acts. But it's a piece of the neshama. But that comes with the soul. The knowing, the da'at Hashem Elokecha, that has to be acquired. That you have to learn. That's why we have to learn about the Kadosh Baruch Hu, who He is, where He came from, what does He want. The only thing that will teach me who is Hashem, so I will know, it's only the teachings of the mysticism of the Torah, which is the Zohar and the Kabbalah and Chassidut. So I have to know also the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam she'akol nהיה בדברו. The point is that I have to understand everything. Very few people, most people, you tell them, do this, they do that. Do that action, they just do it. You ask a religious individual, why do you dip your bread 3 times in salt on Shabbat? I saw my father do it all my life, so I'm doing it too. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? We need to know. It's not the point is to be like a parrot or like an animal that mimics. That's not what Hashem wants me to do. Hashem wants me to know, why am I doing it? Why am I doing this act? Why am I going to the mikveh? Because somebody told me go to the mikveh. You need to know. You need to know what happens. Why? Because A will give you the intention, will give you the knowledge. Oh, I understand what I'm doing. I understand why I have to do a certain thing. So the point is that we have to learn it. We have to know. We have a commandment. Da'at Hashem Elokecha. It doesn't say ha'amin b'Hashem Elokecha. It doesn't say believe in Hashem. You have to believe also. No doubt here. But you have to also know. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave us an unbelievable present. Is the option of learning. Now what do I need to take from that? I need to take the teachings of the Kabbalah and make it my reality. And to give you an example, because we twist the reality. We change the reality to how it's comfortable for me to see. And that's not what Hashem wants. Hashem says, I want the Torah to be your reality. And I observed a very interesting story that, Baruch Hashem, I fly a lot. And there was once an individual that he bought a certain bag of cookies in the duty-free, and he put it next to his bag. Later on the plane, sits a guy next to him, pulls out this bag of cookies or chocolates or whatever it is, and he starts eating from it. And he's like, look at this chutzpah. I can't believe it. He took my bag and he's eating my cookies. And in his mind he's like, I can't believe this. This is chutzpah. He doesn't know what to do. And then the guy turns around to him with the bag and says, ransom. And he's like, not only that he took my cookies, he's offering me. And he didn't know how to react. And the guy's like, here, take some. He was about to lose it. He was literally about to freak out. How dare he takes my bag of cookies and then he eats it in front of me and he offers it to me. He couldn't fathom it. The whole flight he was sitting like this, fuming. He couldn't believe. Until he gets off the plane, he walks away. He puts his hand into his bag to take out something, and whoop, he pulls out the bag of cookies. Same exact bag. That's when he realized, oh, he was also in the same store, bought the same cookies, and he got the same bag. And the whole time I thought he took my bag. I judged him to be chutzpan, to be, how dare he? And then look how nice he was. He offered me his cookies. And I completely twisted the reality from seeing something the wrong way. And that's what happens to us on a daily basis, that we twist the reality on something that we see, and it's not the reality. So we see something that might look not so good, and we twist the reality and says, Hashem is mean. What kind of a God is that I see this tragedy? What kind of a God makes his children suffer? I just see something and I twist it completely. I don't know that that's not the reality. So the teachings of Kabbalah is not only to come and teach me, spiritual things and for me to feel that I'm so holy. It comes to teach me, I have to know Hashem. I have to know how he operates. I have to know what he wants. I have to understand why he tells me to do all these rituals. I have to. It's not a choice. It's a must. I have to. More than that, this is the only teachings that will allow me to see things how they are, and not to start making up all these ideas. More than that, take a person, it can be a very God-fearing person that learns a lot of halacha. If he doesn't know the mystical part in it, you see a person that just starts learning a little bit about mysticism, suddenly they start seeing the mystical part of everything. They start seeing Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence, and everything that they do. Suddenly they have the tools to start seeing how the world is not a simple world, how everything is connected to everything, how things roll over and are connected one thing to another, how I met this person knows this person. Suddenly you start connecting all the dots. The teachings of the mysticism, whether it's Zohar, Kabbalah, Hasidut, it puts all the dots together. Suddenly you see, wait a minute, I can see godliness in the world. I can see how Hashem operates in this world. I see Hashem in the world. You know how many thousands of letters and emails I get from people that say, I suddenly see how God runs the world. I see how there's a higher power. Call it however you want. The teachings of Kabbalah will allow you to reach to that level that will allow you to serve Hashem how He wants you to serve Him. Not like a robot. Hashem says, I don't want robots. I want you to serve me because you understand. I want you to understand what you are doing, because when you understand, you feel part of it, you will do it with all your heart. And that's one of the many reasons why we give such honor, such respect, such celebration to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Because he was the one who opened the door that brought us down this knowledge. Yes, we had books of Kabbalah before the Zohar. The first book of Kabbalah, the book of formation, Sefer Yetzirah, this book was basically written by Adam HaRishon. He knew all this information and he compiled it. Now he didn't write it in a book. He gave it over to his son, to Shet, who gave it later on to Noach, to Ever, and they started giving it over to Avraham, till it came to Avraham, and Avraham wrote it down. But Sefer Yetzirah is the first Kabbalah book. This is Kabbalah Ma'asit. This is actually knowing how to put the letters together and to create things. There were Mekubalim that knew how to do it. Don't go so far away. Look at the Maharal from Prague. The Maharal from Prague knew how to put letters together, and he created a human being. Created the Golem. There were many other people who knew how to create that. You know that the sons of Yitzchak, when Yosef came and said Lashon Hara about them, that they're eating Ever Min HaChai, remember the story? He was like, what they're not eating the kosher animal? They didn't know, he didn't know that they're doing Kabbalah Ma'asit. They knew how to do things. He was too young, he was only 17. But we know throughout the history, there were certain individuals that knew how to do what's called Maaseh Bereshit, to put letters together and to create things. So, Kabbalah came way before Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but he brought it down. He made it accessible. He made it in a way that we can learn it, and He opened up an entire world for us. Even when you learn Kabbalah, it's all based on teachings on the Zohar. You learn Chassidut, it's all based on the teachings of the Zohar. You want to learn about the 10 Sfirot? You don't go to books of Chassidut of Kabbalah. 10 Sfirot is explained in the Zohar. Anything that you want to learn, the Zohar is the reference. We're learning now here the gates of reincarnation every Tuesday. If you notice, every couple lines, he sends us to a place in the Zohar where he brings the source. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave us this unbelievable present. Therefore we rejoice and we celebrate. And he gets so much respect and so much honor because he was the Butzina Kadisha, this holy candle, this holy light that came down and opened this. What we want to take from that is to celebrate on this day. He said, I don't want anybody to mourn my death. I want everybody to celebrate. I want to have big parties, do big bonfires. You know, he's called the Butzina Kadisha, this holy candle. So he says, I want you to light bonfires for me. Because you know, somebody dies, you light a candle. For Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, we burn things. That's how holy, how great he was. We don't light a candle. We light a bonfire. So Bezrat Hashem, in the merit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, we should all be getting closer and learning about the Kadosh Baruch Hu, closer to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, being aware of the teachings, being learned and know what Hashem wants from us. Needless to say that very soon Mashiach is going to come. He's going to come and expose the whole new Torah to us, exactly like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did. Now, even though you might not understand nothing right now with what you learn, but very soon Mashiach is going to come and he's going to start explaining it all. Then we're going to be like, I remember learning it and not understanding it. And now Mashiach is going to explain it. So you learn something in Kabbalah and Zohar Chassidut, you don't understand anything. Don't pretend. I also don't understand everything. But at least I'm preparing myself. This is like the hors d'oeuvres. Before you go into the meal, you have to taste a little bit of the hors d'oeuvres. You know, there's a halacha, there's a mitzvah to taste from the food of Shabbat on Friday. Just a little bit. Just taste a little bit. So before Shabbat, we taste a little bit of the food. Before Mashiach comes, we have to taste a little bit, to just put it in our mouth a little bit, to have a little bit understanding, to know how to get a little bit closer to Hashem. You know, I want to make my wife happy. I need to know what's her favorite color. Because if not, I'm going to buy her the wrong shirt. That's a horrible color. I want to make her happy. I need to know what flowers she likes. She might like roses. I don't know. Maybe lilies, whatever it is. I need to know. How can I make her happy? I have kids. I have birthdays. It's not well, you can't go to the kids and say, what do you want? You want a surprise. Some of my kids says, I want a bike. Easy. Some kid says, I want a surprise. Lag BaOmer, our daughter has a birthday. Shena has a birthday on Lag BaOmer. I told her, what do you want for your birthday? She told me, a surprise. And I'm like, great. Now I don't know what to buy you. Because it has to be a surprise. So I want to buy her a surprise. I need to know what she likes. She likes lollipops. She likes balloons. I'm giving you some hints if you want to bring her something. Pretty things. So I want to make her happy. I need to know what she likes. Same here. I want to make Hashem happy. I need to know what makes Hashem goes. What makes him happy. What makes him excited. How to relate to my master. And that can only be found in the mysticism of the Torah. Therefore, we must learn Kabbalah, each one in their level, and in any type of way. And Baruch Hashem now, it's very accessible. And more than that, we need to know. We need to know what to do, and that's why we celebrate this holiday so much, and we should all celebrate and rejoice. Just by rejoicing the day, you get connected to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Bezrat Hashem, we should have a beautiful Lag BaOmer. We should have an unbelievable connection to the Tzaddik. We should have an unbelievable connection to the Torah and Hashem through the Tzaddik, through his Torah. And this will allow us, you know, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says about the Zohar, Sifrada Yifkun Megaluta Barachamei. In this book, they're gonna leave the exile with mercy. So he gives us a promise that by learning the book of the Zohar and learning mysticism, this is what's going to take us out of exile. But not only that it's going to take us out of exile, It's going to take us out of exile with chesed and rachamim, with kindness and mercy. And Bezat Hashem, we should see the coming of the redemption very soon with our own eyes.
Amen.
We should see the chariot, the pillar of lights, with our own eyes very soon.